Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. The United States marks the 80th anniversary of the attack on the U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor today. The attack on December 7, 1941 shook the nation. Tesla boss Elon Musk weighing in on President Biden's social spending bill. What concerns does he have about the bill, and does it look like the bill will make it to Biden's desk before Christmas? The top issue for the upcoming talk between President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin is Ukraine. Biden is expected to help deter a potential attack. A New York City business group speaks out against the mayor's vaccine mandate for private employers, though the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce says the mandate will support safety and the economy. Ghislaine Maxwell's sex abuse trial enters its 7th day today. U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan on Monday denied a request by Maxwell's attorney to bar photos of her with Epstein. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden visited the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. on the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. The President and First Lady held a moment of silence in front of a wreath at the center of the memorial. The White House says it contained one wild sunflower, the state flower of Kansas, in honor of the late Senator Bob Dole. The veteran, who died Sunday, was seriously wounded during World War II. The Bidens also laid a bouquet in front of the New Jersey pillar in honor of Jill Biden's late father, who served as a Navy signalman in the war. The United States marks the 80th anniversary of the attack on the U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor today. That infamous day would push the United States into World War II. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
The attack on the U.S. naval base in Hawaii on December 7, 1941, shook the nation. The U.S. had been focused on the war in Europe and hadn't considered the extent of the threat posed by Japan.
Okay, that's what we normally do.
David Russell was just 21 when his ship, the USS Oklahoma, was attacked. Now, at the age of 101, he's returning to Hawaii to mark the anniversary of the attack. Russell will join about 30 survivors of Pearl Harbor and 100 other veterans from the war for a ceremony in remembrance. They'll observe a moment of silence at 7:55 a.m., the minute the attack began.
They announced over the loudspeaker that this is an attack. So we went to general quarters, and I had 2 general quarters stationed. If we came under air attack, I was to sink cover down below the armor deck.
The attack was launched to destroy the U.S. Pacific Fleet, with the aim of keeping the United States out of the war. 2,390 Americans were killed. Japanese forces attacked Pearl Harbor with torpedo planes, bombers, and fighter planes. Russell was forced to make a quick decision.
The wind was blowing that fire towards the Maryland and the Oklahoma, and I didn't want to get in that water, so by the time as I was going over, where the 2 ships were riveted together, I just made a big leap, and I caught a hold of a line that was hanging over the side of the Maryland, and I hoisted myself aboard the Maryland.
The Imperial Japanese attack was intended to destroy American power in the Pacific, but prompted the United States to enter World War II, and led to the eventual defeat of Japan in August 1945, days after the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin are meeting today in a video conference. U.S. officials say that Biden will tell Putin that Russia and its banks could be hit with tough sanctions if Russia invades Ukraine.
Here are the top 5 contentious issues between the two leaders, starting with Ukraine. A senior U.S. official said Biden will warn Putin of severe economic consequences should Russia go ahead with a threatened invasion of Ukraine, which says more than 94,000 Russian troops have gathered near its border. Russia says its troop deployments are a response to aggressive behavior by Ukraine and NATO, which it does not want to expand further eastward. President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the Donetsk region, where Ukraine's army has fought Russian-backed forces in a simmering conflict. The senior U.S. official said Biden will talk to Zelensky in the days after the call with Putin. Number 2, energy. The United States has said Russia could and should do more to ease an energy crunch in Europe by increasing gas supplies, and warned it not to use energy as a political weapon, especially against Ukraine. It has imposed sanctions against Russian entities involved in Nord Stream 2, a newly built gas pipeline under the Baltic Sea. It's awaiting approval from a German regulator before Russia can start pumping gas through it, so it would be potentially vulnerable to further Western sanctions if the Ukraine crisis escalated. Number 3, Belarus. The U.S. has accused Russia's ally of weaponizing migrants from the Middle East by encouraging thousands of them to try to enter the European Union from its territory, creating a crisis for the EU. Russia has backed Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko, including by sending nuclear-capable warplanes to patrol its airspace. Number 4, an embassies dispute. Russia and the U.S. have shrunk the size of each other's embassies in a series of tit-for-tat responses. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov suggested last week that this was one area where the two countries could seek to draw a line and start fresh. Number 5, arms control. Not long after Biden took office, the U.S. and Russia extended a key agreement limiting the size of their strategic nuclear arsenals. In Geneva, they promised to lay the groundwork for future arms control and risk reduction measures, and Biden said it would take 6 months to a year to find out whether a meaningful dialogue was possible. So far, there have been no obvious signs of progress. Other points of tension, such as cyber attacks, jailed Americans, and political opponents, including Alexei Navalny, could also come up in their conversation on Tuesday.
The Ukrainian Defense Ministry releases a video showing a U.S. delegation of military experts visiting Ukraine. According to the Defense Ministry statement, U.S. military experts and Ukraine military personnel discussed problems in Ukraine's air defense system. The commander of the Ukrainian Air Force says Ukraine has air defense capability but lacks equipment. Video shows U.S. experts visiting air bases, inspecting fighter jets, and observing drills. The visit lasted a week, the ministry said. Ukraine accuses Russia of deploying tanks and sniper teams to the front line of the conflict in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine's defense ministry issued the statement hours before President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin will speak in a high-stakes video conference. It comes after Russia sent more troops near Ukraine's border. Tesla CEO Elon Musk was asked about President Biden's spending bill. Musk views the bill unfavorably, saying he's concerned about how much the U.S. is spending, and if it were a company, it'd be running at a major loss. Here's NTD's Jessica Beatty with more.
Tesla boss Elon Musk expressed concern Monday about President Biden's social spending bill. A reporter asked him about it at the Wall Street Journal's CEO Summit.
Honestly, it might be better if the bill doesn't pass. Because we've spent so much money, it's like the federal budget deficit is insane.
The Treasury says the U.S. government spent nearly $7 trillion this year, but it only collected $4 trillion in revenue. That's a $3 trillion difference.
If this was a company, it'd be a $3 trillion loss. So I don't know if we should be adding to that loss. That seems pretty crazy.
Democrat leaders in Congress are racing to pass Biden's roughly $2 trillion Build Back Better spending bill. The president saying Monday, the sooner they get it done, the better.
As early as we can get it, I want to get it done no matter how long it takes.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer aiming to pass it before Christmas. But the White House says that's not the drop-dead deadline.
We have many conversations and briefings between now and Christmas, so we're just encouraged by Leader Schumer's effort to move this forward, all of the work happening behind the scenes.
Despite the talk of getting it done by Christmas, Fox host Larry Kudlow said Monday it looks like the Senate's behind in its work, and they won't vote until after the holiday season.
Anyway, a lot of inside betting is saying the next key vote may not come until, get this, February 18th. Now, I've heard that from my pal Jim Lucier, but I'm also hearing it from others.
Meanwhile, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are taking aim at a contentious tax provision in the bill. Some Democrats from high-tax states like California, New York, and New Jersey want to repeal the Trump-era limit on state and local tax deductions, known as SALT. Right now it's capped at $10,000. Republicans and progressives like Bernie Sanders say removing the cap would be a tax cut for millionaires and billionaires. Repealing the provision could be another roadblock to passing Biden's spending bill. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
Cargo ships waited in record numbers at the nation's busiest ports this week. 96 container ships were waiting to offload goods at the Los Angeles and Long Beach ports on Friday. That's up from the record 86 ships last month. At the same time, officials again delayed a new container dwell fee. The rule would fine shipping companies for keeping too many containers at terminals. Authorities now expect it to take effect early next week. On top of the penalty, a new queuing system is helping to get things moving. It's allowing carriers to register with the ports before heading to the Southern California area. Then, it spreads them out across the ocean as they wait. The executive director of the Marine Exchange of Southern California says the system is boosting air quality and safety at the crowded ports. The Biden administration released the first ever United States strategy on countering corruption. It focuses on preventing bad actors from paying cash for houses to launder money and hide assets. NTD's Shen Yun has the details.
President Biden released his anti-corruption plan on Monday. Among other things, the plan targets criminals, kleptocrats, and others who want to park corrupt profits in the American real estate market. As part of the strategy, government agencies, including the Departments of State, Treasury, and Commerce, will make an aggressive push against suspicious all-cash home transactions. All-cash real estate deals currently account for about one-third of all U.S. home sales, according to the National Association of Retailers. And an estimated $2.3 billion has been laundered through the U.S. real estate market over the past 5 years, according to nonprofit Global Financial Integrity. Current laws allow people to form companies anonymously to conduct all-cash real estate deals that hide the source of funds, providing loopholes for corrupt government officials around the globe and other illicit actors to launder proceeds through the real estate market. The administration's announcement comes after October's release of the Pandora Papers, leaked documents that showed prominent figures, including former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, have used shell companies to purchase mansions, exclusive beachfront property, yachts, and other assets. The 38-page plan was released ahead of the upcoming Summit for Democracy, a virtual event hosted by the Biden administration that aims to help stop democratic backsliding and the erosion of rights and freedoms worldwide. It will include 110 participants from governments, civil society, and the private sector. President Biden first launched his anti-corruption campaign back in June. He's the first president to establish the fight against corruption as a core national security interest. Shen Yun, NTD News.
They say the internet is forever, while an internal document from the FBI is backing that up. It says the agency can lawfully access data from private messages in as little as 15 minutes. In that time, the Bureau can reportedly see some of the contents of Apple iMessage and collect metadata from WhatsApp. As for what's in the metadata, it can be anything from dates on sent messages to authors and file sizes. Nonprofit Property of the People uncovered the document. The FBI has long been known to collect messaging and call data, but the new document reveals the speed and scope of agents that can get a hold of the information. The document contains an infographic showing the range of data the Bureau can collect across 9 different messaging apps. WhatsApp hands over metadata every 15 minutes in response to an FBI surveillance request, while other messaging platforms provide logs of inactive data. The document also states the FBI can obtain limited content from iMessage. Apple encrypts iMessage, but not the backups for it in the cloud. Chinese-owned app WeChat will also provide some data in response to an FBI subpoena, but not for accounts created inside China. A business group in New York City is questioning the mayor's latest COVID-19 vaccine mandate. They ask how the mayor could do such things when the president's mandate, which also targets private businesses, has been blocked by a federal court. Others, like the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, endorse the mandate. The head of the Partnership for New York City Business Group said it's hard to imagine that the mayor can mandate vaccines as the courts block President Biden from doing the same. The partnership CEO, Catherine Wild, questions whether the mayor's mandate is legal. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced on Monday the strictest mandate of any state or major city in the U.S. It would affect companies from big Wall Street banks to neighborhood grocery stores. It's gained support from the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce.
This is for the health and public safety, to keep the economy growing, to keep tourists feeling safe when they come here. We don't want to be a headline. New York City leads the nation in COVID. We don't want to lead the nation in COVID rates, and this is an important step.
This comes as a hospital system in Florida ended its vaccine mandate for its over 80,000 employees. The change came after many federal courts issued rulings against the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. The hospital system is Advent Health. Advent Health had previously sent a letter to its employees saying they had to get the J&J vaccine by January 4th or be fired. They had until December 6th to get the first dose of either the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine. The CDC has raised its travel advisory for France, Portugal, and 5 other countries to level 4. That means they have a very high level of COVID-19. And the agency is advising Americans to avoid these destinations. The other 5 countries are Andorra, Liechtenstein, Cyprus, Jordan, and Tanzania. And on Monday, new measures were put in place in the U.S. to limit the spread of the Omicron variant. Now people flying to the U.S. will have to show a negative test result closer to the time of their departure.
It's gone down from 72 hours to basically 1 day prior to the departure to the United States. A negative test result must be demonstrated.
Though the change has caused some difficulty for families, such as for this California resident waiting for her mother to arrive from Germany.
We were afraid that she didn't make it, that she doesn't have enough time to get the test done before she leaves.
Children under 2 years old do not need to be tested, and there is an option for people to prove they've recovered from COVID in the last 3 months. New York City is expanding its array of vaccine mandates. Children 5 to 11 years old are now required to get at least 1 dose by December 14th. Those 12 and older need to be fully vaccinated by December 27th. This means that many young people will need to get a shot to keep dining out or participating in after-school activities. Local residents express their opinions about the new mandates.
Everyone should get vaccinated, not even a doubt. George Washington in 1769 required the Continental Army to get vaccinated against smallpox. This is not a new thing.
We are a free country. I think everybody is, entitled to their own opinion. If we are going to be mandated to have the vaccine, I think our freedom is being suppressed. So that's just basically my opinion about this whole thing.
I think its mandate is great. I think our goal here is to keep the positive rate down as much as we can. I believe COVID is going to be around for a while, but I think the most important thing we can do is getting vaccinated and have masks everywhere as much as we can.
Medically, I'm not sure. I mean, if kids really need the vaccine. But some say maybe they should need it because there could be carriers. Because a kid can carry, they may not get sick, but they could be carriers. So it's good maybe to have vaccines for them, but it's a restriction for kids. Kids they like free to be free,
About 27% of New Yorkers ages 5 to 12 have taken at least 1 dose, and 15% are fully vaccinated, according to the city's website. Mayor de Blasio's successor, Eric Adams, will evaluate the mandate and other strategies to combat the pandemic when he takes office in January. Tyson Foods is announcing bonuses for workers ahead of the holidays. It plans to pay $50 million in year-end bonuses to frontline and hourly meatpacking employees starting this month. The move looks to attract and retain workers after the pandemic. 86,000 Tyson employees in the United States will be eligible for the one-time bonuses, which range from $300 to $700. The meatpacking company says it's looking at ways to better support its frontline workforce. On top of pay increases and signing bonuses, the company now offers more flexible work schedules. Tyson has also opened several health centers to give frontline employees and their families easier access to health care at no cost. And on top of that, the company plans to offer paid sick leave starting in January. Over the past year, Tyson wages have averaged up, with hourly workers making up $24 an hour total. That's up from an average of $22 an hour. The pandemic hit the meatpacking industry especially hard. as the virus spread quickly through the processing plants where employees work in close quarters on assembly lines. A commission set up by President Biden is having an internal spat. That's as it explores possible changes to the makeup of the Supreme Court. The main disagreement is over whether or not to recommend adding more justices to the bench. The commission concluded yesterday and is set to vote next week to finalize its report. The draft version includes arguments for term limits for the 9 justices. A seat on the Supreme Court is currently a lifetime appointment. The report comes as polls show public approval for the Supreme Court has dropped in recent months. Ghislaine Maxwell's sex abuse trial enters its 7th day today. Prosecutors are expected to show jurors photographs depicting the British socialite's relationship with the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the story.
U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan denied a request by Maxwell's attorney on Monday to bar the photos. FBI agents found the materials on compact discs seized from Epstein's Manhattan home during the July 2019 search. Epstein was arrested on sex abuse charges that month and died by suicide in jail weeks later. The cache of digital photographs also includes images of 2 women. They have accused Maxwell of recruiting them for Epstein while they were teenagers. They are depicted in various states of undress, prosecutors indicated on Monday. Nathan agreed with prosecutors' argument on Monday that the photographs were relevant because they showed the relationship between Maxwell and Epstein, who were a couple during the 1990s. Maxwell worked for Epstein at the time and managed his various personal properties. Nathan admitted one of the photos of an accuser not included in the indictment as evidence. She said she would consider whether to admit the other. A photo of a woman who testified earlier on Monday under the pseudonym Kate. Maxwell's defense attorney, Laura Menninger, said some of the photographs could have been altered, and argued that prosecutors should have shown the photograph while Kate was on the stand to give her the opportunity to authenticate it. Maxwell, 59, faces 8 counts of sex trafficking and other charges for allegedly recruiting and grooming teenage girls for Epstein to abuse between 1994 and 2004. She has pleaded not guilty, and her lawyers argue she is being scapegoated for Epstein's alleged crimes because he is dead. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Former news anchor Chris Cuomo, who was recently fired by CNN, announced Monday that he's quit his Sirius XM radio show. Cuomo shared the news in a tweet. The former CNN anchor started off by saying, "The way my time ended at CNN was hard." He explained that while he has thick skin, he also had a family for whom he says the past week has been extraordinarily difficult. Cuomo went on to say that he will no longer be doing his radio show because he has to take a step back and focus on what comes next. Cuomo was fired by CNN on Saturday. This was following the release of materials suggesting he was more involved than he'd admitted in trying to help his brother Andrew Cuomo amid sexual harassment allegations. A San Francisco restaurant decided to refuse service to 3 uniformed police officers after seating them, saying that the officers' weapons made them uncomfortable. The decision sparked a flurry of social media comments, as well as a response from the San Francisco police chief. NTD's Jason Blair has the story.
Here in San Francisco, the restaurant on the corner here behind me had seated 3 uniformed police officers, only to shortly later ask them to leave, which the officers did. The staff cited that they felt uncomfortable being around the officers' weapons. The restaurant named Hilda and Jesse posted an explanation of the incident on their Instagram account a day afterward, saying, "The restaurant is a safe space. The presence of the officers' weapons in the restaurant made us feel uncomfortable. We respect the San Francisco Police Department and are grateful for the work they do. We welcome them into our restaurant when they are off duty, out of uniform, and without their weapons." The restaurant explained their choice to local ABC7 News.
It's not about the fact that we are anti-police. It is about the fact that we do not allow weapons in our restaurant. We were uncomfortable, and so we politely asked them to leave.
The San Francisco police chief responded to the incident on Twitter saying, "The San Francisco Police Department stands for safety with respect, even when it means respecting wishes that our officers and I find discouraging and personally disappointing. I believe the vast majority of San Franciscans welcome their police officers who deserve to know that they are appreciated for the difficult job we ask them to do in their uniforms to keep our neighborhoods and businesses safe." On Sunday, the restaurant issued an apology on their Instagram account saying, "We made a mistake and apologize for the unfortunate incident on Friday. We hope this will be a teachable moment for us as we repair and continue to build bridges with the SFPD. These are stressful times and we handled this badly." Now, the incident did stir up a lot of comments on social media. Yelp is currently restricting any further reviews on the restaurant's page. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
Still to come, NASA selects 10 new astronauts. That's out of more than 12,000 that applied. Now those lucky few are gearing up for the next step, 2 years of training. All that and more in just a minute.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
NASA selects 10 new astronauts as it looks ahead to the Moon and Mars. The space agency introduced the 6 men and 4 women during a ceremony in Houston, home to Mission Control and the Astronaut Corps.
Nicole Ayers.
More than 12,000 applied for the coveted spots. The 10 selected are in their 30s and 40s. They face 2 years of training before becoming eligible for spaceflight. The astronaut candidates include military test pilots, a medical physicist, a drilling specialist, and a bioengineer who was a champion cyclist. 2 astronauts from the United Arab Emirates will train with them. NASA has accepted 360 people into its astronaut corps since the original Mercury 7 in 1959. The previous astronaut selection was in 2017. NASA plans to put astronauts back on the moon no earlier than 2025.
Congratulations to the 2021 NASA astronaut candidates. We welcome you to the NASA family and look forward to seeing you train and fly as NASA astronauts. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Kentucky Derby winner Medina Spirit collapsed and died after a workout Monday at Santa Anita. The 3-year-old colt had just completed 5 furlongs in his second workout since finishing second in the Breeders' Cup Classic a month ago. The colt will undergo a full examination to determine the cause of death. This is a requirement of the California Horse Racing Board. Medina Spirit tested positive after the May 1st Kentucky Derby for a man-made steroid used for therapeutic purposes. The medication is legal, but not allowed on race day. The drug may enhance performance. The Kentucky Horse Racing Commission has been investigating the case. There has been no hearing so far that could possibly disqualify Medina Spirit. Medina Spirit has 5 wins and 10 career starts and earnings over $3.5 million. Doordash is testing out a speedy grocery delivery service. The company has launched 10 to 15-minute deliveries in New York City. A nearby warehouse is storing the groceries, household items, and packaged restaurant products. Doordash hired 60 new people for the service. Speedy grocery delivery is a growing trend in major cities, but New York bodega owners are already pushing back on it, worried it will edge out their businesses. Right now, speedy grocery delivery is only available in New York, but DoorDash hopes to add more locations in the future. The UK's visa scheme for Hong Kongers may be extended to allow younger people to come to Britain. MPs are proposing an amendment that would extend the visa scheme to 18 to 24-year-old Hong Kongers, many of whom were involved in the 2019 pro-democracy protests. NTD's Jane Worrell has more.
As Beijing tightens its grip on Hong Kong, young Hong Kongers, many of whom have faced protest charges in the city, have been too young to access Britain's visa scheme independently. The scheme is only open to those born before the colony was handed back to China in 1997, or to young people coming to Britain as part of a family. But MPs are calling to change this, so 18 to 24-year-old Hong Kongers can independently find a route to live and work in the UK, under what's called the British National Overseas, or BNO, visa scheme.
This amendment would allow them to, if they do have one BNO parent, to claim that eligibility independently of their parents and not have to go through the asylum system, which is currently the only option for them.
And they're the ones most at risk because they've been part of these protests before.
That's right. In fact, 93%, according to research that Hong Kong Watch published recently, 93% of those who were arrested as a result of the protests in 2019 are aged below 25. So that's a very high percentage of those who are arrested and imprisoned and prosecuted either under the national security law or under other repressive laws.
The UK government introduced the bespoke visa scheme for Hong Kongers earlier this year in response to Beijing imposing its national security law. Around 5.4 million Hong Kongers are eligible. While it's difficult to predict numbers, the few hundred expected to be impacted by the proposed change in the UK law are incorporated in these numbers. Government figures from September show around 88,800 Hong Kongers have so far applied to the scheme. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.
The U.S. is expected to maintain its competitive edge over the Chinese Communist regime. America's Secretary of Defense says the U.S. does not fear China. Here's NTD's Tiffany Meyer with more on the story.
The U.S. is not making any essential changes to its policy in the Indo-Pacific region, but it chose a clear rhetoric towards China's aggressions and is trying to maintain its competitive edge over the communist regime. To do so, the Pentagon intends to work closer with private industry to develop high-tech systems and strengthen ties with allies. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said on Saturday that China's recent military activity in the Indo-Pacific, including near Taiwan, are disturbing. He gave the speech at the Reagan National Defense Forum in California.
We remain steadfast to our One China policy and our commitments under the Taiwan Relations Act to support Taiwan's ability to defend itself while also maintaining our capacity to resist any resort to force that would jeopardize the security of the people of Taiwan.
Austin's speech comes as the U.S. faces China's growing economic power, as well as growing power in space, cyber, and nuclear capabilities.
We're clear-eyed about the challenge that China presents. But China's not 10 feet tall. This is America. You know, we have the greatest industry, the greatest innovators in the world, and we're going to do what's necessary to create the capabilities that help us maintain the competitive edge going forward.
Austin says the U.S. doesn't want to be in a conflict, but it doesn't fear competition either.
No, we're not seeking an Asian version of NATO, or trying to build an anti-China coalition. And we're not asking countries to choose between the United States and China, but America isn't a country that fears competition. And we're going to meet this one with confidence and resolve, and not panic and pessimism.
Austin adds that he thinks there's a lot of space for diplomacy and leadership to work. China's growing threat may not be confined to the Indo-Pacific and now may be bleeding into the Atlantic. Beijing's aggression has put U.S. authorities on high alert. That's as China vies to build a permanent military base thousands of miles outside its borders in an African country on the Atlantic Ocean called Equatorial Guinea. But according to the Wall Street Journal, citing classified U.S. intelligence reports, the effort has alarmed U.S. officials. The suspected base is a large Navy port in the coastal city of Bara. It's situated across the Atlantic Ocean from the east coast of the U.S. and is capable of hosting submarines and aircraft carriers. The base's location and proximity could give the communist regime an upper hand against the U.S. military. The Pentagon and the White House are taking notice. Officials there have urged Equatorial Guinea to reject Beijing's plan. If granted permission, the overseas base would become China's second in Africa. In 2017, it opened one on the other side of the continent in Djibouti, a small nation and a key Red Sea ally to the U.S. in the Horn of Africa. But that's not all China is pushing for. It's also seeking out other base-building opportunities around Africa. The chief of U.S. Africa Command told the Associated Press that the Chinese naval base there concerns him greatly.
And a vintage Christmas exhibition is underway in Russia. Artifacts on display revive the history of New Year's celebrations as far back as the 17th century. Learn more in just a minute here on NTD News.
The worst genocide in human history also destroyed the lives of thousands of Jewish survivors still suffering today.
God calls on people who believe in Him to act on His word. Comfort ye, comfort my people.
Especially during this holiday season of Hanukkah.
When I come here and I sit with Lily, I realize what she needs right now is food.
These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day. This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month. Your special holiday gift will provide everything they need to celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah.
This is the first time in over 70 years that she has anything to do with faith. The communists came and wiped it out.
Your grandparents?
And now we're coming to her and we're saying, it's okay to have faith. It's okay to light the Hanukkah candles.
For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
God tells us to take care of them, to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
A self-described avid traveler was filmed floating in a salt pool at Egypt's Siwa Oasis. The man entered the small but deep pool dressed in all white clothes. He says he travels to a new country every month. He had planned to visit the Siwa Oasis for 2 years, but was delayed because of lockdowns. People first settled around Siwa Oasis around 12,000 years ago, but the area remained relatively isolated in the desert for thousands of years. In the northwestern German state of Lower Saxony, one family has taken decorating the tree to a whole new level ahead of the holidays. Instead of one, they rounded up hundreds of Christmas trees, so many that the German Record Institute presented them with a new world record certificate. Let's take a look.
This apartment is packed to the brim with illuminated trees, and no two of them are exactly the same. The unparalleled passion for Christmas has earned the Yarrowman family another world record.
Hello. My name is Thomas Jarrowman. I am 55 years old, and I really do have the world record for having the most Christmas trees in one place.
After a decade of embracing the tradition, the household has yet to face competition for their record. This year, they've outdone themselves once again. The couple set up a total of 444 trees by hand, all decorated head to toe with ornaments and lights. Even the bedroom is overflowing. A judge arrived to count the trees before granting the 2021 record.
What is important for the record is that the houses are fully decorated. They have to look the same as if you just had one in your living room, so with candles or light garlands with baubles, etc. As you imagine a typical Christmas tree. The size, though, is not important.
The display involves more than 10,000 Christmas balls and 300 strings of fairy lights. And on top of that, a variety of festive colors and themes like superheroes, smiley faces, and much more are present. The family started putting up trees months before Christmas. They finished the display prior to the country's first Advent, which fell on the first Sunday in December.
Hundreds of people gathered in front of Milan's Duomo Cathedral in Italy on Monday. They watched as 80,000 lights wrapped around the city's Christmas tree are switched on. The 75-foot-tall fir tree, dubbed Imagine, is decorated with 800 red and silver Christmas balls and 60 bows. The beams of light at the base of the tree shoot up to the sky, making one of the city's most iconic tourist attractions even more spectacular. The Christmas tree itself did not have far to travel, having been brought from Citilio, just north of Milan. 10 new trees will be planted to compensate losing one to Milan's Christmas festivities. Once the Christmas season is over, wood from the tree will be reused for the benefit of the entire population. This will limit the negative environmental impact. Moscow is hosting an important exhibit all about the country's Christmas and New Year's traditions. The artifacts on display trace the history of the celebrations over 3 centuries. Let's take a look.
A museum reserve in Moscow is restoring the history of New Year's celebrations. Looking back to the 17th century, the exhibit offers a fresh take on the holiday.
Every year since 2010, the Museum Reserve has been holding New Year's exhibitions, and each time we try to find some new, unusual material and tell unknown facts about the New Year.
At the top of this year's exhibit list is a special historical document, a decree by the Russian Emperor Peter I in 1699. As part of his calendar reform, he officially set the country's New Year's Day to January 1st.
Beneath the calculations that he did and wrote with his own hand, there's a separating line drawn, and under it, it's written. The text goes approximately like this. By the way, let's postpone the New Year to January 1st. There's a note on the side, done.
Christmas trees started to decorate the Russian New Year at the end of the 19th century. A popular painting of the time captured the fusion of old and new festive traditions.
Here on this wall, you can look at it, which shows that by the beginning of the 20th century, the New Year's holiday was a great eclecticism, where various folk traditions were brought together, and then European traditions were superimposed onto them.
Also on display are Soviet Christmas tree ornaments, Slavic dressed mannequins, toys, and gifts, along with rare cards and paintings. The artifacts echo old customs including dance, fortune-telling, and caroling.
They were caroling. It was like this man did. People would turn out their fur coats, put on masks, and went caroling. This is a unique exhibit too.
The exhibit event itself is also an annual tradition. In total, it showcases more than 700 items from 21 ethnographic museums. It runs until the end of January.
Are you trying to find that special Christmas gift for someone in your life? Have you thought about a pottery lesson? It's not your usual gift and could be fun. NTD's Neil Woodrow sits at the wheel for a tester session.
So I'm here today at Studio Pottery London, and I'm here with Gregory, who's going to guide me my first ever attempt at working with the clay on the wheel, otherwise known as throwing. Let's see how it goes. Gregory began pottery aged 15 and was apprenticed to Mary Boyce Adams, née Gibson Horrocks, a pupil of Bernard Leach. He says teaching ought to build a solid foundation of patient repetition and mastery of small detail, so that mind, eye, heart and hand ultimately work as one. In this introductory session, Gregory first goes through the routine. The clay is first prepared in a method called ox-head wedging to blend the clay and release air bubbles. Then he separates off 1 pound balls of clay and they are slapped into shape.
Just shape that into a ball.
Next, Gregory moves to the wheel for the demo. Getting the clay exactly central is crucial.
So if you watch me now, I am squeezing and moving my hands upwards and tilting my left hand in to make a cone. So I'm gathering up the clay into the top, where it's at the top of the cone where it's becoming centered.
Then the cone is pushed down.
And then with one fluid movement, I tuck my right hand over the top of the cone, so the top of the cone is held by the fleshy part of the thumb, because I'm now going to be pushing down with the right hand, levering down with the left, and as I lean into it with my body, I'm slightly opening up my fingers so the clay connects. And the image that I always use, for better or for worse, is that of a scone. So it looks a bit like a scone on the wheel.
After twice more, the clay is centered. A well is made using the thumbs to set the level of the base. A gentle hug is applied to stop it from flaring out too much.
So that's tilting it in.
And the wheel is slowed down, ready to shape the pot.
And I come to the top, the rim, and I just gently lift off.
This process is continued until the desired height is achieved. Then some tidying up and you have it. Now it's my turn.
How's that? That's perfect. So now push down, that's it, that's perfect. And open up the fingers a little bit. That's it, let's have a look. Much, much better, well done.
Thumbs.
Now, you're going to now open out the base. So the thumbs are just going to draw, that's it, perfect. Well done, really good. That's it. And that's sufficient. Stop. Well done. Did that really well. Keep the wheel spinning though. Just keep going with that. And remember, just hold it steady when you come up to the rim. Don't release immediately. Just to stop you from whisking off too soon. And hold it steady at the rim. And gentle upwards release. Just steady it a little bit like that. Just collar it slightly where you slightly knocked it. Just fractionally. Well done. Look at that.
Cutting the pot in half allows you to examine your work.
You can see that it's a little thicker in the base. But quite even.
Okay.
So well done. All we need is a little bit more pressure here to bring that clay up from the bottom there up. So we could probably get another ½ centimetre or so.
Yeah.
But you did really well on your first piece. You're right. Breathe.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
It's been great to do this, and you know, it's so easy to do actually. With obviously you've got good help here, but I'm sure that if you were thinking of gifting this as a Christmas present to somebody, it's a good idea. It's a lot of fun, and you get something at the end of it. Well, as long as you don't cut it in half, of course. Participants normally produce 3 pots in their first class. One is left for glazing and firing in the oven for you to keep. There are pottery classes covering most of the UK. Neil Woodrow, NTD News.
Often the best way to feel better about yourself or your life is to do something kind for someone else. Let's get some inspiration. Here's Gina Marie, who brings us Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. You've tried it all, from deep breathing to taking a nap, to venting to your friends, and yet you still feel stressed. So why not try a little kindness and see if that helps? Stress seems to be an epidemic these days, and if we're not careful, today's stress will become tomorrow's depression. But as we seek ways to help ourselves, perhaps the solution actually lies in helping others. It turns out that when we put our own troubles aside and focus on helping others, our stress levels decrease. Kindness positively impacts hormonal levels in our body. It leads to both mental and physical health benefits. For example, those who strive to be kind have 23% more cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. That means one can age slower than the average population. Kindness also stimulates the production of serotonin, that feel-good hormone. It helps to calm the mind and elevate the mood. Not only do stress levels decrease, but so does blood pressure and pain level. Being kind to others releases chemicals like endorphins and oxytocin. Oxytocin dilates blood vessels, which in turn helps to decrease blood pressure. Endorphins act as our body's natural painkillers, and if you're feeling a little sluggish, try spreading some kindness for a natural energy boost. One study reported about half the study participants feel stronger and more energetic after helping others. Many participants said they feel calmer, less depressed, or had greater feelings of self-worth. And what better way to help others than by doing volunteer work? Studies show that those who volunteer reap just as many benefits as those they are helping. So why not give it a try? In the words of the Greek philosopher Aristotle, the purpose of life is to serve others and do good. Acts of kindness and serving others are the recipe for combating stress and maintaining great health.
Two tiaras believed to have belonged to French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte's first wife, Josephine, sold for more than $760,000 at auction today. The early 17th century pieces are part of matching jewelry sets and were offered as part of auction house Sotheby's treasure sale. One tiara in gold and enamel and set with 25 carnelian gems sold for nearly $600,000, which was double the estimated price. It was offered with a pair of earrings, hair comb, and belt ornament.
So this tiara suite is incredibly important because it's such a rare example. We say things that are often museum quality, and this truly is the case with this, having been housed in the Victoria and Albert Museum for the last nearly 100 years. The workmanship is absolutely fantastic.
The second tiara, featuring 5 head cameos of Zeus, Dionysus, Medusa, Pan, and Gaia of ancient Greek mythology, sold for nearly $167,000 within its estimate price range. It was offered with a belt clasp and belt ornament. Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.